What is going on, all you awesome superhero aficionados? This is the Heroes and Mutants podcast. I'm Nick with my co-hosts.
James.
You got Eric here.
And you
Last
got
but not
Ruben.
least, and happy late birthday.
Oh, yeah.
It was yesterday. He just turned 18, right?
Yeah,
Plus
man,
11?
18.
18.
18 plus 11. Don't look at Dave.
Finally,
18 plus 11.
It's actually pretty cool because I'm finally in my own. I've been like meaning to get a desk and a setup in my room for the longest time. It's been 4 months and I finally got it. So mainly because I wanted to show off my posters. I've had these for a long time. So this is the reason I hung them up right here. So I'm excited with that.
Your self-portrait. Got your self-portrait in the back.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is that your lair?
His lair.
Nick, is that your lair? You need to paint
Exactly.
it black. I think you need to darken it up, Sometime when I make my way up to Northern California, you can like turn that into a real Nightwing lair, like a real
Exactly.
That'd be dope.
Yeah.
A wing lair or the
wing lair.
What would he call his lair?
The wing
The
cave?
wing's den or
The night cave? I don't know.
The night cave? Oh, the night cave.
The night
But
cave.
not like Dark Knight, not with the N, not a cave.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The night cave sounds like a place that Nightwing would go to seduce the ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's
we all know that
definitely-
Nightwing's a player. Remember that.
It's definitely still the Batcave because he just mooches off Batman.
That's true. That's
Well, I would do the same. I mean, Bruce is a freaking billionaire and one of the richest people on the planet, so it only makes sense. He would take care of his prodigal son in every way.
For sure.
But a lot of stuff to go over today, so let's jump straight into it. I know it's actually kind of funny because we had reported on this twice when first this movie was going to be released in September and then it got delayed to October 15th. Then there were reports saying that it was going to be delayed again to January to take Morbius' spot. But we get official confirmation that Sony has moved up the release date of Venom: Let There Be Carnage from October 15th to October 1st. So it is pretty cool that we're actually getting a legit actual release date and not something that it seemed like they were going to be moved and that it was going to be pushed back. So I think hopefully this means that they have more faith in the project as opposed. I think the thing that was going to worry me was just maybe it didn't do too well with test screenings, or maybe there was another reason on why there was those rumors that they were going to be pushing it back. So the fact we're going to get this film in the beginning of October is hopefully a good sign, and I'm still on the fence about it, but we'll see how that comes about. And what do you guys think about that?
I mean, it's going to be at a similar release date that it was in, I think it was 2018. 2018 or 2019. I think it was 2018. Yeah,
it was like October 8th, I think, or like somewhere like in the beginning of October it was released in 2018.
The only reason I remember and is because they're doing it again is because I know that like the new Venom movie and the new Halloween movie are released within weeks of each other. I remember that both being a thing in 2018 happening again this year.
Yeah, I remember
Nice.
that. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, so they're keeping the release date.
Yeah.
I love Woody Harrelson as an actor, and I think he's a great choice for Carnage. Not a fan of the original Venom. I don't like the direction they're taking. So I'm skeptical, but I'm going to check it out anyway because I do like the character, and I want to see what Woody Harrelson does with Carnage. So skeptical, but hoping for the best.
Yeah. About the release date,
optimistically skeptical.
Yeah.
Skeptical. I think they're sticking to the release date now because they've seen that, especially with the movie we're going to talk about later, Shang-Chi, they've seen that people are willing to go out and actually go watch the movie. And with a movie like Venom, they don't have like Disney Plus to fall back on for streaming. I don't think any of the Sony movies that have come out have a dedicated streaming service they can go to. So I think
working on something.
Yeah, they're probably working on something, but I think at the moment that's probably why they're kind of on the fence. That's my speculation. I think they're on the fence because they weren't sure whether to release, especially with a few movies like before Shang-Chi that had released and were flops just because they hadn't done well in theaters. Obviously they're putting a lot of time and effort into Venom and kind of expanding more of the like Spider-Man universe over at Sony. They definitely wanted to make sure that they would have the people come out and actually see it. They don't want to flop, right? So I think that's my speculation. I think they were just kind of waiting, like on the fence about it, just to see if comic book fans would actually come out and watch a superhero film.
Yeah,
Right. Exactly.
I agree.
So,
That makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with all y'all. I mean, I just feel like I know in the beginning they were just prolonging their drop date because they were trying to reshoot some things or something like that, and
Yeah.
then eventually, they were worried about another shutdown. So I'm pretty sure that was another factor into it because, like you said, people weren't. I agree with Eric, where he was just like, people weren't sure if people were willing to go to the theaters, which I always felt like they would, if they love it or not, if they're real fans. I know they want to worry about their safety, but trust me, real fans were gonna go no matter what. And obviously they were gonna wear a mask and all that, so I'm pretty sure it would have done well. So it just goes back to what we're gonna speak about later on. The movie did well, Shang-Chi, and I like that they finally got an official drop date. But I'm just
Yeah.
looking forward to see how the movie continues. Yeah, like James said, I'm looking forward to Woody Harrelson. I think he's gonna be a cool Carnage without a doubt.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And moving on from that, we have our first look at Aquaman's classic orange and green suit for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And I think the surprising thing was they also released a second suit that he's going to be wearing. Obviously, it looks like it's a stealth suit that's inspired by Neil Posner's 80s blue suit. And James Wan has gone on to say that the suit, that it's Atlantean-based tech on cephalopods' camouflaging ability. David Leslie Johnson and I were inspired by the 80s blue suit, which he's talking about with the Neil Posner's miniseries. So I think it's pretty cool that there's not too much of a connection aside from just, we were inspired overall. Because if you look at what it looked like in the comics, it actually kind of resembles Quicksilver. So I'm assuming that's probably why they didn't want to go too far in making it super accurate to the comics. But it is pretty cool that they're trying to dabble into something, and especially since it's based upon like an octopus or cephalopods camouflaging technology, I think it makes sense. I think the thing I thought about is it's kind of, you would never really think that Aquaman would need a stealth suit. I mean, you would think somebody like Batman would need to camouflage into his environment or more fit in with the darkness. So I think this is pretty cool. I'd like to see how it kind of plays out, and the updated suit with the classic orange and green looks pretty cool. So I think that it's looking like it's going to be pretty good so far. Moving on from that, we actually got our first official trailer for Injustice. I think it's pretty cool because it seems like it's going to be very faithful to the game and the comics. What are you guys' first thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, I love the games, right? I played Injustice games way too much. And yeah, I played them in college a lot. And I mean, I really enjoyed the story. From the trailer, it looks like they're definitely taking inspiration from the story. I don't think they're just gonna go out and remake the story that we got in the Injustice games, because initially we started getting like Mortal Kombat versus DC. That was like the first intro into this story, and then we got the Injustice series. So I think they're definitely taking the whole idea of like Superman and losing Lois Lane, and then him like turning and like forcing like a totalitarian type of like power over everyone. Yeah. So and that happens in the games. But that's just like one universe. And then the DC characters that we know from our universe come in, and that's where the clash kind of happens. And because the universes are crossing over in game, that's why you have like an overpowered Joker that can actually fight against Superman.
Oh, because of the pills that Batman created,
exactly. So,
I wonder if we're gonna see actually that really badass moment where Alfred beats the hell out of Superman.
Yep. Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
so obviously they did that in the video games just so it'll be a little bit more believable that you have these characters that don't have powers fighting against Green Lanterns and Superman and all that. I wonder if they'll delve into that in the movie. But overall, I mean, initial look, I think it looks really cool. I think it's really interesting. Obviously, the characters of Batman and Joker, for me, they were on point. I'll defer to Jimmy to see if he thinks they were. But yeah, overall, I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a dope story.
Oh,
what do you think, Jimmy?
I'm pretty excited for it. I love DC animation. They have rarely ever let me down. Have they let me down? I'm sure they have at some point. I can't think of it in my head. But I'm really excited. Yeah, I do think that they look on point. It looks exciting.
Okay.
I'm happy with the story is going. I like the idea of an evil Superman. And it sounds weird, but I also like the Joker as a Superman villain, which he's not really a Superman villain, but he occasionally
Yeah.
tangles with him. Because
I think he can be like anybody's villain.
yeah,
As long,
I
you know,
mean,
he can,
he's Batman's arch nemesis, but a DC villain in general.
Yeah.
And I can pick the Joker with his lack of morality. Seems like he might even have more fun of a time with somebody like Superman, who's even more of a Boy Scout than Batman, and even more moral and upright. So it seems like the Joker would have fun screwing with Superman.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, yeah. Now I'm actually getting back into that. I remember the first time I came on to Quick Scope podcast. Thanks, Eric. Because I was saying like what I was into and all that, and I was like, oh, no, I'm more into sports games and this and that. But I ain't gonna lie, I just recently got the new Spider-Man Miles Morales. You know,
Okay.
I'm getting back into those story mode kind of games.
Yeah.
So I just
What
got
are
me
those
my
called?
Madden.
RPGs, right?
Like,
I'm
I'm
not a
ex-
video game.
Role-playing
I'm
game.
excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this though, basically. Yeah, so I'm excited just to see it because like I said, I'm getting back into that story kind of mode,
Yeah.
single player games and all that. And yeah, basically it's been a while for me since I've done that. Now since I got this Miles Morales one, but hey, I mean I can't wait to mess around with the DC characters and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Injustice game, actually, if you have Xbox Game Pass, is actually free.
Oh.
You can play it for free if you have the Game Pass for Xbox or for PC. So definitely download that game. It's definitely just like a Mortal Kombat game, but when you play through the campaign, through the story, is actually really engaging and it's really fun.
I used to be. I don't play video games as much as I used to, but I used to be addicted to Mortal Kombat versus DC.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I was like, I think the only person in my high school that played that game.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I could kick everybody's ass with Superman on that.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's funny because when you got to Injustice, I mean, you know, Mortal Kombat has their fatalities, and so when they first started introducing the DC superheroes, they were heroic brutalities instead of fatalities because they couldn't kill them like straight up.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting, but I think it's really cool. I'm excited for this animated adaptation. I thought it was really interesting to see how in the trailer how quick Superman turns. Because I just recently rewatched Under the Red Hood, and it's kind of the same premise where Joker kills someone that's super close to Batman, but the idea is that Batman doesn't turn, right? And then that's what kind of causes the like clash between the Red Hood and Batman.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, he basically does kind of the same thing. I mean, it's difference between killing like a Robin versus killing like Lois Lane.
Well,
but
it's
Superman,
not like that, but also too,
switched.
I mean, Metropolis got was hit with a bomb that was tied to her heart. So it's also that too, a thing of like he lost his unborn child, he lost Lois, and not only that, but he forced him to kill her, thinking that she was Darkseid, and then losing his home city that he was supposed to protect. So I think it's a multitude of things on top of that.
Yeah, I think it's cool to see because it's also very like kind of what Jimmy was saying. You could see the Joker doing this, right? It's like it's within his nature to do this type of thing, and he even says it in the trailer, right? Like, whoa, like what did you expect? Like, this is what I do. This is who I am. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, definitely me too. And I think some of the biggest news that developed, and I think this was yesterday or 2 days ago, so it's actually pretty crazy, that Insomniac Games released a trailer for Spider-Man 2, which will continue the story of Peter and Miles as they battle Venom, who is perfectly casted by Tony Todd, Candyman himself, and other villains coming 2023. How Craven was actually the one doing the narration in the trailer also, so that was pretty cool. How hyped does this look to you guys?
You know, this stuff is making me feel like I need to get back into video game consoles because I used to be addicted to video games, and I have so many. I have so busy. And I have so many expensive habits. I was like, I don't have time for video games, but like all this shit makes me like, damn it, maybe I need to get back into it. So it looks awesome. It looks awesome. I'll find somebody's house to play it at.
Yeah. Ruben, you said you were playing Miles Morales right now, right?
Yeah, I was. So it's I like it. It's good. Like I said, I just started it, so I'm still early on. 'Cause like I said, I also got Madden, but so I'm always
Oh, yeah.
switching back and forth. But like I said, it's a good story. I'm gonna do any sports, but I like it. I really do
Yeah.
like it. So I want to know what they're gonna do with this new one coming out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really like Miles Morales overall as a superhero, as a character. Like he's a cool dude. He's a cool dude, and then I guess I could say since we're on the subject, I know we're talking about games, but we're on Miles too. Supposedly they already found who's gonna play a Miles, and now they're just looking for a director to work on a live action
Oof.
film or TV series. I'm not sure yet.
That'd be dope.
Yeah,
But
would be.
yeah, going back to that, I'm excited for it. That's all I can say. I'm excited for it. Like I said, I haven't finished playing this one just yet, so I could only imagine how. Well, what I saw for that. I'm excited to finish this game so that I could get ready for the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What about you, Eric? What did you think about this game? Or
I mean,
at least the trailer?
obviously, I'm super excited for it. Miles Morales' story actually in the very first Spider-Man game, not like the old like N64 one, the new ones for the PlayStation, they started Miles Morales' story, so it was kind of like near the end of the first Spider-Man, and then he got his own game, so Spider-Man Miles Morales, which came out
like last year, right?
Yeah, not too long ago. So it came out with the new consoles when the PS5 came out. It was one of the games that came out with it. And so now they announced Spider-Man 2. I know there was a lot of confusion because people are like, isn't this Spider-Man 3? Well, no. Like Spider-Man Miles Morales was kind of like an offshoot, its own story. And now it's coming back and they're bringing Miles into it as well. So I'm really interested in seeing what storylines from the comic books they pick up. Because in the first Spider-Man, they had writers to do an original story, and it was an original story with Dr. Octopus, and it was all really cool. It was really well done. There was twists in it that I didn't even expect at times that I thought were really cool. But the Miles Morales storyline was actually pretty on point with the storytelling in the comic books. So I'm wondering what stories they'll bring into Spider-Man 2 now that they have Venom, especially, and I think it's interesting that they bring in Venom as a character against both Spider-Men. Whereas, I mean, if you look historically, it's really just Venom and Peter Parker, and you have the juxtaposition of Brock's relationship with Peter and that whole thing. But now with like Miles Morales in there, in the trailer was kind of teasing at it's kind of both of them, right? It's going to be the nemesis of both of them, and they're going to have to really figure out what to do there. So I'm excited for it. I think it's really good. Both Spider-Man games that have come out for PlayStation are critically acclaimed, high Metacritic scores. If you look at like all-time best superhero games, both of those two are consistently at the top. So
definitely.
Yeah, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm more looking forward to it, excited for it. So we'll see where it goes. It's not coming out till 2023 though, so we gotta wait a while.
Definitely like the combat sequences seems like it's gonna definitely remind me of Arkham Knight, when you could have like Batman and Nightwing, Batman and Robin together, kind of like when they're doing like their team takedowns. They have that one where like they web up a dude, he webs at the back, and then they slam him down. That looks really cool. So I think that was a big reason why they wanted to incorporate them in this game together, so that they could have kind of like combat sequences like that, or kind of like combat takedowns, and it just offers more fun for the gameplay. I think some people were confused on, wait, why is Miles and Peter together in a game? It kind of doesn't exactly it's not that it doesn't make sense, but just like as opposed, it seems like they're kind of partnering up. So I think that was the thing kind of confusing people, especially when you think of the title and people had said, shouldn't this be Spider-Man 3? Technically, I'm assuming it's going to be more centered on Peter and Miles is coming in. But overall, I think this is really cool, and it seems like it's going to be going the right route, and they're kind of just giving the fans what they want, which is
at this point,
which is awesome, because like you had said, both of these games were critically acclaimed. So for them to finally go, we're gonna put Peter and Miles together. You guys are gonna be able to do combat takedowns, and they're gonna be able to fight alongside each other, and then Kraven and Venom and other members of the Sinister Six, or other members from their universes, are going to be fighting try to take them down. So I think they're pretty much just like overloading people with dopamine and everything that they want.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Or
know.
what if, I just thought of this now that you were just talking about it, Nick. What if Marvel, what if? No, I'm just kidding. Talking yeah, what if Sony's actually doing that on purpose? Or that trailer for the game is something they're not trying to put out there for what they might be putting in the movie for Spider-Man upcoming right now. That for the movie coming. Like I said about the Miles Morales, you know, that supposedly they found a character. Right now they're just trying to look for a director for the solo, you know, film or TV series. But if they already found an actor, do you think maybe they might, you know, do a little cameo in the Spider-Man movie? Because I doubt Sony, or who knows, maybe they will. Because I doubt Sony would do, outside of the comics, this would be their first kind of team up in a way, wouldn't you think? Between Miles and Spidey.
Yeah.
Oh, in the comic, outside of the comics?
Outside of the comics, outside of the comics.
Probably.
I mean,
so I don't think
technically Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, they work together.
Oh, that's true. Oh yeah, you never mind.
But
not live action.
Yeah, not live action.
Yeah.
But I guess
I was gonna say in the video game, they obviously, like in the first Spider-Man, he's kind of starting to train Miles Morales, and they develop that relationship. But they what the Peter Parker that they introduced in the first Spider-Man video game is way older than the guy we see in the movies. He's already graduated from college, and he's working as an intern for Doc Ock, and he already has, like, he had already broken up with Mary Jane by that point. He had a relation with Black Cat. Like, I think we're seeing a Peter Parker there that's way more advanced than Tom Holland's Peter Parker, the Peter Parker in the MCU right now.
Yeah.
So I would think that it's just kind of two distinct stories. I don't think they're kind of trying to tease each other or anything. Kind of like we saw with the Arkham Knight series, the Batman series. That came out around the same time as the Dark Knight movies, but they were totally like distinct from one another. They didn't really cross over or even tease towards each other. But again, that doesn't mean they can't. Like, because it's an open world game, there is so much room for like just throwing in clues and like just little things, call back. Like, a lot of the suits that you could get in the Spider-Man game, you can get the MCU suit, the Stark tech suit. You can get it in the video game, but it had nothing to do with the story in the video game. It was just kind of for fanfare. Yeah, it's for the fans. So I can see them doing that type of thing, but I don't think the stories will really like overlap much.
Yeah.
All right, I hear you.
So looks exciting. We're gonna have to wait a full another year before we can get it, and who knows when it'll be released in 2023. But looks awesome.
January 1st, 2023, New Year's.
Hopefully,
that'd be awesome. But
okay, well, less than 2 years. The year's almost over.
Just over a year.
So at least a full year we'll have to wait. But it will give me time to get a PS5 and then buy both of these games so I can freaking play it, because I haven't played either of them yet. But
that too. PS5 exclusive. So it said only for PS5, because the Miles Morales game came out for both, for PS4 and PS5. So they're definitely going to push people to get the new console.
Sony's going to want to be greedy with Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
It's PlayStation. Sony. It's not.
Make sure you guys check that out, and we'll let you guys know when a full gameplay trailer is released and we actually see the goodies. And and it's also funny too, because Insomniac also released a mini trailer for another video game that they're working on, which is Wolverine.
Is this the most video game news we've ever had in a week?
Aside from maybe fandom last year, because they did the Suicide Squad kill the Justice League and Gotham Knights.
Oh yeah, DC fandom. Yeah.
Because obviously they're going to be doing Midnight Suns. That was a couple weeks ago. But this is pretty. We didn't really see too much. It's just probably in its infancy of the development stage. We didn't really get any gameplay trailer or any kind of actual footage from it, or any kind. It was just a really mini trailer of him at a bar, and all you see is him unleashing his claws as he's about to fight somebody. So I think it looks really cool, and Insomniac seems like they're doing the right things, and it seems like people are really happy, and they're pretty much becoming like the Rocksteady of Marvel. Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. Throw them all the money, have them make a Daredevil game next, hopefully.
Yeah,
And
right now they're following that pop culture, you know, so they're
exactly,
going
exactly.
with the vibe, the freaking flow and all that. So I don't
Yeah.
blame them.
So,
I know people are, I guess this is going more into like the video game side of it. People are upset because it's a PlayStation exclusive. Like a lot of people play on Xbox, a lot of people play on PC,
yeah,
and Insomniac has just done PlayStation exclusives. So again, with them getting Wolverine, Wolverine's probably like before the MCU, Wolverine was probably one of the biggest characters in the movies, right? Like you always
Yeah.
had Spider-Man, but Wolverine was right there.
Yeah.
yeah,
And so people got excited for it, and then they realize it's only on PlayStation. So I guess that's kind of the only drawback there. But again, it's Insomniac, and they've done such a good job with Spider-Man that they're gonna really put an effort into understanding the comic books, understanding the origin,
Yeah.
and even the fight styles. Like
oh yeah,
they take a lot of the fight styles from the comic books, and they do really well on translating that to the game. So hopefully we get that same like type of crazy heroic brutality with Wolverine. Yeah.
that'll be
And
awesome.
Right. I want to see a
so
lot of blood.
yeah, I want to see blood, right? Especially with Wolverine. So out of all the games that are coming out, I'm really excited for this one, especially because we talked about
Yeah.
Guardians, we talked about Midnight Suns before, and I'm still kind of iffy with those because of the developers. But Insomniac, they just know what they're doing. So I think Wolverine, even though we didn't get any gameplay whatsoever, we just saw him unleash his claws. I think it's still worthy of getting excited for.
And I
Definitely.
want to go back to what you said about people complaining. Hey man, let the haters hate, because I mean even Xbox or even like PC, you know, players, there's games that, you know, us PS4, us PlayStation folks can't play because we
Yeah.
don't have that console, you know. So hey, it's just a way of getting making it fair.
Yeah.
And
make
if
it
you
work.
want
So what
two
you're saying,
consoles.
Ruben? What you're saying is keep sipping the haterade. No one cares. All right.
Look
Do it.
Just checking.
Definitely.
Minding my own business here.
That's
Then,
a total meme right there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So moving on from that, this is something we've pretty much known and something that he's hinted at, so it doesn't come as any kind of surprise or something that comes out of left field. But Batista officially confirmed that Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 they'll be wrapping it up, confirming his time in the MCU is coming to an end. And it's kind of funny that it comes at this time because we had kind of known about it, and he had kind of speculated that his time with the MCU was going to be coming to an end. And also, I think it's a little bit funny too, and I'm wondering if this was the case. Maybe I'm reaching a little bit, but he had said that he had wanted a role in the Suicide Squad when it was first announced that James Gunn was going to be directing the Suicide Squad. And that was, I think, more so because that was when he had gotten fired from Disney and all that fallout because of the inappropriate tweets from him a long time ago. And I just think it's kind of funny that the timing of this. So do you guys think there's a possibility he could come over to the DCEU?
For sure.
Yeah, of course. That seems to be the thing today. It seems to be like filmmakers and actors are crossing over into both. I felt like before you picked like Marvel or DC, and I feel like we're seeing increasingly people want to be part of all of it.
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's actors that are going to be part of both universes now.
Yeah, like Henry Cavill. I mean, I know he wanted to come to Marvel, but DC reeled him back in and say, hey, you know what? You could reprise your role. We got you. So then he's coming back. I'm not
I still think he can still do a Marvel movie. I mean, look at Michael Keaton. He's still the Vulture. He's going to be Batman. J.K. Simmons is going to be Commissioner Gordon and J. Jonah Jameson at the same time.
Yeah, no reason
why not? So why not?
Exactly. So I think that's pretty sad because obviously this started pretty much it's not like acting was new to him, but this was that first, I think, role that got him on that blockbuster status or allowed him to tap more into that comedic aspect and a different side of him that people weren't used to. So while it is sad that his time is coming to an end, I'm just hopeful for the future for him, and hopefully he can get more kind of roles. I think someone like him might be a little bit limited just because he might be typecasted into playing this certain type of character, but hopefully hopefully that's not the case and he'll be able to just have a long standing career in the film industry. So best of luck to him, and we thank him because he was the best Drax ever. Even
Yeah.
though
Yeah.
even though he's mastered the art of staying incredibly still, that he becomes invisible
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we can't see
Also-
him.
Yeah.
He's probably the best wrestler turned actor.
You don't think John Cena?
John
Hey,
Cena's
could you guys-
good, but I think Dave Bautista between like I don't know if you saw Army of the Dead.
I
Yeah,
haven't
so
seen that
good.
yet, actually.
Yeah,
was
yeah,
good.
Army of the
On
Dead, the Zack
Netflix.
Snyder one. Yeah, check it out. Or even like his small part in Blade Runner 2049. I think he's taking it like John Cena is good, don't get me wrong, but I think that Dave Bautista is going to be trying to be a more serious actor.
Yeah. He's in
Oh.
C now, right? The
Visible,
Apple
right?
show.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and he's playing a very like serious role, and I mean, he looks intimidating. It looks really cool.
Maybe that could be the reason then it's just easier for him to just segue out of it because he didn't want to get typecasted.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a
Yeah.
good thing for him then. Like I haven't seen Army of the Dead and I haven't really followed his other work, but
I
hopefully
thought you were Snyder pilled. Check it out.
I'm invisible, right? You guys can't see me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. The
Yeah.
chip.
So
Yeah.
best of luck to him. It seems like his career isn't slowing down at all. So wish him the best. Hopefully, maybe we'll see him in the DCEU. Also,
Yep.
to make sure you guys check out What If. The last 2 episodes aired, and they were pretty cool because I think we had talked about some of the issues with it, and some of the things that you guys were having, but I actually really liked these last 2 episodes, and I thought especially the evil Doctor Strange one, just because it felt very tugging at the heart and tugging on those kind of emotions and more of kind of those. And I think it was pretty cool too because we actually saw the watcher interact with somebody and wasn't just like, oh, I'm just sitting on top of my throne being like, hey, look at that dumbass. He's messing up his reality or something like that. So it was cool to actually see him partake and actually express concern and actually not just be someone who's just this all-powerful being, but actually kind of have a bit of a human connection and a human kind of emotion because he obviously feels bad for him. But in the end, he had just said like, hey, I can, this, you reap what you sow. You knew what you were getting into. This is what it is, dude.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Now then the Marvel Zombies one was pretty cool. I think it was also cool they had that tie in to Marvel Zombies, the comic, with T'Challa on the table with his leg cut off and being fed to another person. I thought that was a pretty cool callback, and I don't really know if a lot of people got that, but that was pretty cool. I think I'm starting to warm up to it a lot more. I know you guys had, like, Jimmy had kind of expressed concern over it, or it just felt a little bit weird, like it was it wanted to be its own thing, but it relied so much on those connections and people's knowledge of the MCU. But I think it's coming out pretty good, and we're going to definitely break it down in its entirety when that happened. So with all that being said, make sure you guys are following us on IG at Heroes and Mutants Podcast to get updates and be informed on what's in development and what's happening in the here and the now with superhero news and superhero culture. So thank you guys so much. And we are going to now get into a new film that was just released last week. And this is something that I was extremely excited for. I know Jimmy probably knew this was coming. I knew Eric was coming.
We know.
Ruben might not have known, but Shang-Chi
No,
was just... Oh, no, you knew. But Shang-Chi was released last week, and I really loved it. And it was everything I wanted in a Marvel movie, which I had kind of complained about the fight sequences. And it was really cool to see something that was reminiscent of Hong Kong cinema blended in with a modern Marvel superhero movie. We're going to talk about the action separately because I feel like it was so distinct
Of
and
course we
on
are, Nick.
such another tier and another level that it warrants its own discussion. So first off, what did you guys think of Shang-Chi?
Oh, man. You know what? It's one of those movies where when I was watching it, I was enjoying it so much that I was waiting for something to happen that I wouldn't like, or that I would be like, okay, whatever. There's not one thing about this movie that I didn't enjoy. I thought it was very engaging. I thought it was one of the most dramatically compelling storylines in any MCU movie. The generational story that they're telling, and in a lot of ways, it doesn't feel like a superhero film. It feels much different, more like it feels like it's delving more into Asian mythology, and that's one of the things that I loved, which I wanted to highlight. When I was watching this movie, to me, it was very refreshing to see a superhero movie like this. The themes that it deals with, the way the culture that it deals with, things that I'm not used to seeing represented on the screen. As I was say, movies like this prove to me why I think diversity is important, because it brings a whole different flavor of storytelling and drama to the screen, and it was just so refreshing to me. I liked every character in this. There's not one character I did not like. I even liked all the little minor characters on the side. I cared when people when people were killed in battle. I was really upset at that one death. I'm pretty sure right before the arrow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that
we can do spoilers here. So yeah, make sure if you guys haven't seen it yet, that's on you. But spoilers going forward.
Spoilers, yeah.
Oh yeah, he was such a minor character that only popped in and out, but I had got such a good feel for the world and for the people that I actually really felt that loss, and it stung when it happened. I like Shang-Chi as a character. I like all the actors.
Can I say something before you go on?
Yeah.
So the actor that actually played, I think his name was Gongbu. It's actually kind of funny too, because it's somewhat of a translation to Gongbu in, I'm not sure if it's Mandarin Cantonese. I'm butchering it. Sorry if I don't know exactly if that's Mandarin Cantonese, but it actually translates to bow stance in that. So I thought it was kind of funny that his name was reminiscent of because obviously they're flying a bow, but that actor, I don't know if you guys are aware, he's actually a staple and a legend in Hong Kong cinema. You guys might, if you guys had seen the movie, most Western audiences would know him as the male landlord in Kung Fu Hustle. But his name is Wen Ra, and he actually is a legend amongst, like, he was actually a brother of Jackie Chan, or like they call themselves brothers, training. They started in the Peking Opera together, and he is a staple of Hong Kong cinema, and he was a big villain in the 80s and a legend. So it was really cool to incorporate him, and you can really see that they were paying homage and paying their respects to Hong Kong cinema. Not only that, but there was a little bit of a meta reference, because the Shang-Chi has a poster of Kung Fu Hustle.
I saw that.
So I thought that was kind of. So go on, Jimmy. I just wanted to make that connection.
No problem. Oh yeah, no problem. But
dude,
the backgrounds was crazy. Like you mentioned the Kung Fu Hustle poster. There's all kinds of posters in the background. There are all like callbacks to so many different things.
The Warriors got the Godfather.
The Warriors one, and he had the red shirt and the red jacket, and obviously that's called back to the Warriors and him like fighting through everyone. Like it's insane. Yeah. Like there's so many little details. I need to watch it again.
Yeah,
there's so many little details.
You said the Godfather?
Yeah, he had a poster for the Godfather in.
Yeah. That kind of makes sense, because a lot of this deals with like a family generation, a family that's rooted in violence, and kind of passing it down to the next generation. Yeah. So I didn't think about it, but there is thematic overlap there.
And I think with before I'll let you go on too, Jimmy. Sorry, I just wanted to interject, but with Kung Fu Hustle, I actually found a little bit of a reference to. It wasn't just obviously because one of the they had an actor who was in Kung Fu Hustle, but these are both stories about the main character unlocking his inner potential and unlocking his true power. The only difference is Kung Fu Hustle. Obviously, the guy starts off bad because he tried to be good. He realized that it sucks, and trying to be the hero is not where you get your goals in life or where you get your riches and your money and the women. It's actually being bad. But the main character is saying, obviously, he actually goes through this journey where he realizes his inner potential and he unlocks his true mastery and his true skill. And that's also pretty similar to Shang-Chi's journey and him unlocking his inner potential and his true power with the Great Protector. So I actually felt like there was a small connection between Kung Fu Hustle and this movie. And that also just because there's other references when he, like, his stuff in his room. I actually thought that was probably a little bit of a callback or a little bit of a reference also.
Yeah. Yep.
So, sorry, Jimmy, go ahead. Keep talking.
But I like, so I liked all the actors in this for one thing. I love Awkwafina as a screen personality. I think she was a great comic relief. And I like that they gave her a good story arc too. And she felt part of the narrative by the end. And I was actually cheering by the end when she helped Shang-Chi out. Ben Kingsley redeemed the character Trevor Slattery, who I just could not stand in Iron Man 3, and that just drove me berserk.
Oh, dude, I loved him in Iron Man 3.
Oh, man, but for some reason, I kept laughing at him here at this. The things that he says are funny. His Planet of the Apes anecdote was
that was
hilarious.
That was
like, what are you talking about there?
And his
Yeah.
relationship with Morris was
his
pretty
relationship,
heartwarming.
yeah. Of course, Simu Liu is really good as Shang-Chi, but
Oh
I
yeah.
actually think the standout performance here is Tony Leung as
Yes,
Yuan Wu.
yes.
Okay, I am a big fan of this actor. I love him in a lot of Asian cinema. He's in one of my favorite movies called Chungking Express. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's a really good Hong Kong film from the 90s. It's kind of like a twin love story. One of my favorite romantic movies I've ever seen. He's in another romantic movie by the same director, Wong Kar-wai. He is
Oh,
a legend
oh
in
yeah.
Chinese cinema. He's one of the great actors of Chinese cinema, and I think he really brings that presence to this role. I feel like just with one facial expression, you could read so much going on there. You could read pain, hurt. You could tell everything that he's feeling or what he's going through just by the facial expressions that he makes and the way that he expresses himself. He's such a fantastic actor. I think as a villain, he's a very nuanced character. I like that in a lot of ways. As much as I disagree with his methods and the things that he does, I understand his point of view, even though I wouldn't
Yeah.
arrive at the same conclusion.
Yeah.
And I like that he's not a simple, straightforward villain. I think there's a lot of complexity and layers to him as a character that, even though he is a villain, I hesitate to call him a villain in the traditional sense, because part of it is being misled, and I think there's a part of him that is good, as we saw
Yeah.
when he
He
fell in
tries.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah, he tries. I thought it was compelling where that story arc ended with him and his son. Tony Leung is a king, dude. He's
Yeah,
a
he killed it.
really
He
great
really killed
actor. Yeah, great actor
Definitely.
of Chinese cinema. So I'm glad to see him here. I like the production design of this. I like it. It's like since it's the most exciting production design I think since Black Panther in the MCU, where you get to
Okay.
visualize a whole new world and the colors, and it's so beautiful and it's so imaginative and so lovingly rendered, and it's all very well shot in ways that allow you to like really take in the world and appreciate it. It's very transporting, one of those movies that feels like you're traveling to a unknown territory, something that you're not familiar with. I enjoyed everything about it. I thought the finale was exciting. I thought the action was rousing. We'll get to the action later, but yeah,
No,
the
yeah, that's a
action is
separate thing.
some of the best I've seen in the MCU. But overall, I just thought this was extremely compelling, beautiful to look at, funny in the right spots, dramatic when it needed to be,
Yep.
and it makes you care for even the smallest of characters in this universe. Totally dug it, and it's one of the most refreshing comic book movies I've seen in a really long time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What about you, Eric? What did you think, man?
I mean, I agree with Jimmy. At this point, because of this movie, I'm convinced MCU can do anything. Because honestly, I mean, Shang-Chi from the story is like it was a small character that I really didn't care for.
Yeah.
Like he came out in Masters of Kung Fu,
Master Kung Fu.
and I mean he wasn't even like a huge part of like the Ten Ring storyline, or even like the Mandarin. Like I mean historically, the Mandarin has always been the like the enemy of Tony Stark.
Exactly.
And it's always like it was always them two like against each other, and to bring Shang-Chi into this film and have that relationship with the Ten Rings and everything, like I thought it was really cool. It was very original, and yeah, they did an awesome job with it, and it did a good job of being its own standalone story and a different story nonetheless. Right, like we've had all these. We had Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, all of these stories to show like how the character started and how they became heroes, and they still did again. This is a new character. He becomes the hero, and but at the same time, we get an origin that's completely different from all the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did such a good job with it that like I really liked it. I enjoyed all the different flashbacks that they had. They had like 3 different story arcs happening at the same time that all came together in the end, and you finally like see like what, because like the whole time where they're showing him like training as a kid, and then he's gonna be sent off to assassinate someone, and I'm wondering to myself like, well, does he actually do it? Because I know in the comic books he goes and he finds out that he finally finds out that his dad like leads this crime organization, and he's like 19 at the time, and he decides, oh okay, I'm not gonna be him. I'm just gonna go and fight like alongside superheroes.
Exactly.
But here, like he actually goes through with it and kills someone, and
I thought that was a very surprising story beat too. That caught me off guard, because I spent the whole time thinking that he's such a good person that he just ran away and didn't go through with it. And I think it makes it even more compelling, and it looks I'd have to see this again because you probably look at a different light. How he's talking about how he runs away and he's hiding from everything. I just thought he was hiding from his dad's past. When it turns out that he's hiding from himself, like what he's capable of, I think that's a lot more dramatically compelling. And I like that he comes to the conclusion that he's not going to be that person anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And even at the end of it, like how his dad willingly gives him the 10 rings. Like at one point, and again, we'll get, I don't want to get too much into the action of it, but he like does the same move that his mom did when he gets all the rings. Mm-hmm. And then he could have easily just put them on because he's controlling them at that point, but he just throws them away. And he didn't really take on the rings until his father gave them to him. So even though he's like fighting his father, the whole time there's this respect for him. Yeah. It's like, I'm not taking these unless you give them to me. And it flows through the whole story. Like Jimmy, you said, like, yeah, like the dad, he was a bad guy, but at the same time, you kind of understood where he was coming from. And in the end, like, you see them pay homage to both parents, the mom and the dad that passed away. And it was like, they weren't even really like the villains here. They're just all fighting their own demons. Yeah, which eventually became the actual demons that came out. But that was a whole other
Have you ever seen a movie where people fighting their personal demons turns into a literal demon?
I know, right?
That's pretty. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, A+ for me. This movie was amazing.
For sure. Definitely. What about you, Ruby? What did you think overall?
Without going into too many action details, I agree. Like, you know, what James said. Like, you know, and I want to go back to what I even said in the beginning. You know, before the movie came out, where I was like, I understand. You know, Shang-Chi, how he didn't want to follow in his father's footsteps, so that's why he left. You know. But then we learned in the movie, in reality, like when he got with his mom, he actually did, you know, he wasn't being that, I guess, how would you say, controlling evil dude with those rings and shit.
Yeah.
That's the one flip. You know, so that's backtrack. Okay. So basically, what I want to say is it was a hell of a movie. And I want to go back to what you were saying too, Eric, without getting into too much details with the action. Where I think he already knew he was capable of killing, you know, like you guys said, he actually did it. But if you guys remember, he was actually almost gonna kill, what was it called, the Death Dealer. Until his dad interfered. You know, he was gonna do it, but I guess they showed it early on where he was actually capable of, you know, really doing it until they actually showed it. But overall, the action, the culture, I want to go back to, I was talking about pop culture, but just in general, I want to go to culture. And I think they're, like you said, Jimmy, where it's just, like, you know, this is probably one of the first, like 90%, 95% all Asian cast, you know? And I thought that's a hell of a job because nowadays, I think that's pretty hard to do, especially even if it's just random people, you know, you got to find the right fit for the roles. And that's something I'm always going to say. Like, you know, when you're going to find someone to act something, I want it to be someone that's going to portray it in the right way.
Yeah.
And in all aspects, like you say, every actor that they got to play a certain role, they killed it. They killed it overall.
Definitely.
Yeah. And like Eric said, it's an A+ for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think this is definitely one of the best MCU movies. And I think that my lack of familiarity with Shang-Chi kind of helped the experience because everything felt surprising and fresh to me because the lack of familiarity with this slice of mythology. But yeah, it's such an exciting and it's a beautiful movie to look at. I just really love the world that it creates and the visual style, everything about it. It was just it was fantastic.
Definitely. And like I had said, this has been a movie I was looking forward to for a long time, just because we really hadn't seen that level of somebody who was such a great martial artist and his main thing was his martial arts, and at his core, that was what they were going to focus on, and that was what they were going to dive into, especially from more of a Hong Kong perspective. It's a little bit hard for audience, I would say, these films to pull those off, especially just because people kind of feel kind of iffy when they see stuff like that. Like, I showed some people The Matrix and they're just like, why are they fighting this way? How come it doesn't look dirty, or how come it looks so cool? How come it looks so awesome? Like, there are people I know that prefer freaking the Bourne movies to the Matrix, and I'm just like, are you guys out of your freaking mind? Like,
Yeah.
it's just so crazy. But I thought it was so obviously too. I think because of the fact the lack of familiarity that people had with Shang-Chi ended up really working for Marvel's favor. With they, obviously changed a lot about his backstory and his background. The Wenwu that we know in the film is actually a combination of his father. I think it was Fu Manchu before. I think they changed his name to Zhang,
Zhengzhou.
and Zhenzu
Yeah.
and the Mandarin that we know.
Yep.
I think those changes were warranted. Obviously, they were trying to be very cautious about how they approached them because there was a lot of negative stereotypes associated with both these characters from before. And I think the change up from the rings before, where it was on his fingers, changing them to on his wrist, I thought it made a little bit more sense. And from a visual perspective, I thought
It was so
really
cool.
Yeah, just to see, and also too, it actually felt a little bit more reminiscent of martial arts, because I don't know if you guys know, but there is a certain style of martial arts where they fight with rings on their hands. If you guys know Gordon Liu in the 36 Chambers of Shaolin, the opening montage, he's kind of training with rings on his hands, and it's a way for them to develop strength and power in their arms. So I felt like that was a way to also incorporate it more into a martial art element, and that's obviously what the film was going for. Although it would have been cool to kind of see that he got these rings from interdimensional shape-shifting dragons like he does in the comics. That would have been pretty cool. But I think this is like one of those things like where they're paying homage as much as possible, but they're also doing fresh ideas and trying to do creatively things and make it make sense for their vision. I don't think a lot of people would have associated in the comics and said, oh yeah, the Mandarin and Shang-Chi, like they didn't really have too much of a connection, but now, essentially they're father and son. And the film does it in a way and connects it to something from the past and something that was known as a low point for Marvel. And one of the worst things that I really hated about the MCU, especially because they had built up the Mandarin. We're going to finally see the Mandarin in Iron Man
That's
3.
why it drove me
And then when we
crazy in
just get
Iron Man
Ben
3.
Kingsley coming out of the bathroom after taking a massive dump, I'm like, this is funny, but this is exactly not what I wanted.
That's the thing. I felt like in Iron Man 3, the way they built up to that was, to me, very deflating for it to be this goofy ass like throwaway character. I kind of feel like that's just my personal opinion. I remember it really like irked me when I saw that in theaters. I feel like as a comic relief, he fits a little bit better into this specific storyline and the way that he kind of slots into it. Another thing I mentioned is a lot of references and tributes to a lot of Asian cinema in this. I feel like I've seen like elements of Crouching Tiger, the old Hong Kong movies. I could be wrong, but I know I'm not getting too much into the fight, but I could have swore part of that bus scene was a slight homage to Old Boy, where the camera keeps going. And you see,
I thought the same thing when he was going through the different cars of the bus.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that wasn't just me, but I liked all of that too. And another one thing, just not to harp on it, but one thing that I thought that I did have while watching this movie is that I couldn't have pictured Hollywood funding a movie like this in my teenage years. I could not have pictured. I don't think Hollywood have funded a film that was an all Asian cast that revolved around this heavily around Asian culture. I don't think I could have pictured that in my teen years. Not that that's right, but I kind of like, it was a nice feeling to think that while I was watching, to show how much things are changing and how we're growing, and how that kind of diversity opens up a lot more avenues of storytelling for people. It's going to keep storytelling fresh. I really dug, and I just thought that was really, really cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But
I just wanted to add on to that one sec to what Jimmy said. I think also we wouldn't have been able to have this movie if it wasn't for Black Panther. Because I think that was one of the very first Marvel like forays into a whole different culture, and even like speaking different languages and just showing different like dressings and even like what's important in that culture. And I think because of the success of Black Panther, they were able to greenlight like something like Shang-Chi for the bigger audiences.
Yeah, and I also like how they explore family culture, like the dynamics of culture and tradition and family and everything. I thought that was actually really cool too.
Yeah, because you had that in like even the very beginning of the movie where she had the mom, Aquafina's mom, Katie's mom says, "Moving on is an American tradition." And a lot of kind of stuff like that. But going back to just this film as a whole, everybody is good. Simu Liu is great. Definitely a star. Oh, sorry. Give me a sec real quick.
Everything okay?
Sorry. Give me a sec. Let me just make. Hold on. Let me just. But going back to just this film as a whole, I think everybody is good. Simu Liu is great. Definitely a star in the making. He was great in Kim's Convenience, which is actually kind of funny because I didn't know him before. I think he had made some stuff with like Wong Fu Productions on YouTube. He had kind of done some stuff, but I was randomly, I think this was like back in November, I was randomly just eating breakfast with my dad and he was watching Kim's Convenience and I look up and I see him on there. I was like, oh shit, that's Shang-Chi. I was like, I'm like, Dad, he's going to be a Marvel superhero. I was like, oh, okay, I can see that. And I thought he was great in that, you know, he had a lot of comedic timing. He had just had this very kind of charismatic personality. You could just definitely see that this guy was a star in the making. And obviously Aquafina is great. I think, but to be honest with you, it's a standout and what makes this movie work so well is Tony Leung as Wenwu. He just has this star level quality and he just elevates the film to a whole nother level. And especially just because when you think of a film can only be as good as your villain, and he essentially drives the plot and all the story going forward and is the one who puts things into motion. I think you got to give a lot of credit to Tony Leung because he's just so great and he does something that I think is just makes him one of the most memorable, compelling villains. And you definitely see a lot of, you know, what you were talking about, Jimmy, with you can just see just his level of acting that he doesn't have to talk to know what he is feeling. And I think because he's so grounded in that way that you just get the sense that this guy actually feels like a human being. He's lived for centuries not centuries, he's lived for decades. Well, essentially, he's centuries.
Centuries. The actors live for decades, but the characters live for centuries.
I was about to say,
but then you see, obviously, he cares for his son when Shang-Chi's training and going through his conditioning with his knuckles. He starts as, you know, Shang-Chi, that's enough. You actually see him tending to his wounds, and you actually see him as a caring father. Obviously, he loved his wife, and that was the reason that he had when he had told Katie, I thought it was so compelling when he had said, finally, I found a reason to grow old. And I just really, like, to me, just the movie would not be anywhere near as good if it wasn't for his performance. And he is just so great. And hopefully we get to see him somewhere in the future. I'm kind of sad that he ended up dying, but
I mean, I think for we would like to see more of the character, obviously, because he was so compelling. But for the purposes of the story,
you got a point.
Killing him off,
I think
dramatically.
I think it's just because he was so good that I really wanted to see more, and I thought it was a good.
Really quick, I would recommend, please, really look into his filmography and check his movies out. He is a great actor, and he's done some fantastic Asian films. Really, he's worth looking into.
Yeah, well, because it was funny too, because when he first got casted, I just said, oh my God, that's perfect. Especially because it was cool they were choosing an actor from Hong Kong cinema. Because what I knew him from first was actually The Grandmaster in 2013, where he played another version of Ip Man. So I had seen, this guy played Ip Man.
Oh, that's right.
He played Ip Man. So I had known, and he's just obviously one of the most highly acclaimed actors in Chinese cinema. So I said, okay, he can do action. He's a great actor. He's going to be a great fit into the MCU and is going to be a great fit for just the high levels of talent that has gone into the MCU and that have partaken in the MCU. But also, now I want to move on to one last thing. One last thing. I know it's the bread and the butter. I know. I'm sorry, Nick. But go for it.
So he's also perfect for this role because he's actually associated with playing romantic characters or a lot of lovesick characters and a lot of age. Like some of his most acclaimed work is in love stories and movies like that. So it makes sense that they would cast somebody who's the narrative so centered around him falling in love.
Definitely.
That's why I wanted to say.
Yeah, but one more thing too, Nick.
Okay, go ahead.
We cannot forget Abomination.
Oh, that's right.
It was
Wong.
Tim Roth actually provided the vocal performance too. Well, it was mainly grunting, but
yeah.
But still, that's just gives us a glimpse of he's gonna be coming some way somehow into the MCU again.
Yeah,
and the way he was acting like a good guy in there, he was listening to whoever was in charge.
To Wong,
to Wong, exactly. To Wong, there you go. I forgot about Wong too. But yeah, we cannot forget those two characters. They're little cameos, but I
Yeah,
think
they're up to something.
yeah, they're up to
They're up to
something.
something.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
they're definitely up to
they would
Oh,
something.
they
tend to,
are up to something.
they might
But-
team up on a TV series,
Mm.
for all we know.
That'd be
I'll
dope.
call you right here first if it happens. All right, go ahead, Nick.
But
That's all right.
overall, before we go on this, the cinematography, the story, the comedy, the set design, the world building, everything
Mhm.
about this movie is great, and I just love it. And a huge shout out to Michelle Yeoh. She was also awesome, even though she plays two MCU characters now. She was with one of the original members of the Guardians, and now she's in payback to the comics, but now she's also a villager in Talo and has mystical powers. So and
Make that
is cool
money.
too because
Hey, so
obviously-
does John. We have a Cable and Thanos.
oh yeah, that too. But I think it's cool just to incorporate her because obviously of her long-standing connection to the Hong Kong cinema and her role as pretty much an action queen. She's just so awesome,
Yeah.
and I think it also makes the film better and elevates it to another status that they incorporated her into it because you can see that all that respect and homage they were paying to what came before. So with all that being said, we're going to move on to the bread and butter of what this film was about, the action. What did you guys love about the action?
Okay.
What stood out to you?
Okay. This is some of the best filmed and best choreographed action scenes in the MCU. Probably the best. I'm gonna come out and say it's the best
It is.
choreographed. It's the most visually stimulating, and it rectifies a lot of what my complaints about the way that MCU's style of shooting action, where it's the jittery camera. The editing is a little bit haphazard, where you don't really understand what's going on. You just know the fight's supposed to be chaotic. Here, I felt like you could understand and comprehend every move, every punch, every little thing that lands. So
Yeah.
thrilling. I mean, think about the bus scene at towards the beginning of the movie, where we first get a little taste of Shang-Chi's skills, where Katie Aquafina becomes really surprised or taken aback by it. That
Like,
is,
who are you?
yeah, who are you? She's like, does this guy look like he could fight? And then the asshole shoves her head down. But like it's so thrilling, it's so exciting, it goes on for a long period of time, and it allows you to take in and appreciate every move, every hit that's being made, it's almost balletic the way that these fighters are, the way that they're moving. I like the camera angles they choose. There's that one scene I mentioned earlier, what it seemed to be almost to be a little bit of an homage to Oldboy, with that long take where you see him just fighting and going forward between the two buses. Really exciting stuff. I thought the climax was really good. I liked what is wuxia, right? That's how you would say it. The wuxia style.
Wuxia, wuxia, yeah.
Wuxia,
That's
wuxia.
probably a more correct term.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's Wong Fu. That's how we say it in Chinese. Because
Yeah.
Kung Fu, no, Wong Fu.
Yeah, when he first meets his wife at the moment when they're fighting in the forest, all of that is just so cool and so well done. It reminded me a little bit of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and it's a
Definitely.
big part of
Yeah.
Asian culture.
I legit turned and said that to my wife when we were watching it.
Oh,
It's
you
like,
did?
dude, this is Crouching Tiger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I like that. I like that delving into the old Asian mythology, because we're familiar with American mythology, which is normal superheroes, and Greek mythology, which we all know it as, and that's like Asian mythology. And I think it's cool. Their fighting style reminded me a lot of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But I think it's just the most thrilling action scenes I've ever seen in an MCU movie. The most cleanly shot and most fully realized ones. I even like the way that they shot one scene where you first see Tony Leung come back. Zhu Wenwu, when Zhu Wenwu goes to get revenge in that bar, and he makes Shang-Chi watch him as a kid. And I like when he starts beating him up, the camera turns around to a mirror, and you only see it in the reflection. A lot of creative things like that really make this a very visually stimulating film. So I think it was really exciting. The best action scenes I've seen in an MCU movie. And I think it's appropriate that they would reach this level of action, considering that they're trying to pay homage to Hong Kong cinema, Asian cinema, Kung Fu cinema, which is a lot more cleanly shot and cleanly choreographed than most of what we think of as American action scenes. So
Definitely.
I think they really fulfilled that part.
Oh yeah, they killed it.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely.
What did you think of the action overall?
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk too much on the choreography just because I'm always impressed by like all choreography. But there's a few specific moments that really stood out to me. I had actually done research before watching the movie, and I knew that you'll probably touch on this, but one of the directors worked a lot with Jackie Chan,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you've seen Rush Hour 2, the bamboo scene where
That's
they're both
exact- that's
holding onto the
exactly what I
bamboo.
thought of.
my mind. Damn
Yeah,
it.
and when Aquafina was doing that, I was like, oh, because I watched the movie, like I prepared by watching like Iron Man 1, Iron Man 3,
Yeah.
and then the Rush Hour. I was like, oh, that's really funny. Like it just crossed my mind.
Yeah.
But other than that, like that scene, that whole scene on the building when they're
Oh,
going
yeah.
like up and down the pipes, I was like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah,
Like I
that
was
was-
just
I think that tracking
amazed.
shot to like where he's going to try to save her and you see her in the background, like that is such a great shot. He's like
Yeah.
moving in, weaving in and out.
It's like parkour.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome.
I would say I actually, and I think this is how compelling some of the story was. I knew that Katie was not going to die, that Aquafina's character was not going to get killed
Obviously,
off,
yeah.
like right
Yeah.
there. Yet when she was in danger of almost dying and falling, I kind of moved forward into my seat and I clenched my fist and I got
Like,
nervous.
wait.
Fuck, like no, don't
Yeah.
happen. So really tense
Yeah.
moment. I surprised I forgot. I mean, there's so many great action scenes in this. I mean, you're bound to forget some, but I'm surprised I actually forgot about the battle on the side of the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, I think the really cool part about the action scenes is how they're not just thrown in to just be action, which we see in a lot of the MCU. It's purposeful and it's to develop story. So like that part with Aquafina, and then Shang-Chi's sister, I forgot her name.
Jailene?
Yeah, Jailene. She like comes in and she saves her, and then she starts
Jailene.
helping. Yeah, and then throughout the story, like he's using his dad's fighting style, then he learns his mom's fighting style, and then when he's fighting his dad at the end, he keeps switching between the two. So he's finally like slowly becoming like coming into his own. And yeah, and none of the like action sequences felt like they were just thrown in just to be action sequences.
Yeah.
And
Heck, even in the very
true.
beginning action sequence between the fight sequence between what's the mom's name? I'm trying
yeah,
between her and Wen Wu. That's actually the story it's telling is obviously a love story. Like you have that obviously that shot where she's like coming right across, and you can kind of see, and obviously it's great just because Tony Leung is such a great actor. You can kind of see in his eyes he's just like becoming smitten with her. And then that one where she like gets his arm and spins him around, and you can kind of see he's just looking at her too. Like that is just really great, and one of those prime examples of that's something I mentioned in the action one, Jimmy, where it said these fights should be telling stories, and this is very apparent. And that was really taken in hindsight when they were developing these fight sequences and designing these fight sequences.
Now that you guys mention it, I have to say it is true. I can't think of one action scene that doesn't move the story forward in some way. And even some of the action scenes touch on some very deep, compelling themes that are underneath the film, the themes about drama, especially when it's him facing off against his father. There's not one action scene that doesn't have a dramatically compelling context to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what works so well for me is just that fact of a lot of the fights and a lot of the fight choreography definitely dealt with a lot of concepts of yin and yang. Obviously, we see that in the very beginning. If you notice, so especially with martial arts, the concept of yin and yang is a hard style and a soft style. So obviously, when you see Wen Wu fight in the very beginning, it's all about power and brutality. You see him using elements of Tiger against her. I don't know. Eric probably caught that. But when his mom fights, she's using Tai Chi. She's using Bagua, which is essentially what airbending is, a circle walking. And it's a very elegant kind of flowy. So the light, and then obviously too, this is reiterated when Michelle Yeoh, Nan, when she's training him, and when she's saying like, you know, you're a product of all that came before you, the good and the bad. Stop hiding, nephew. She's pretty much talking about yin and yang. You have to find that balance within yourself in order to unlock your true potential.
Yeah. And then the dragon at the end too, when it goes into the water, it makes the yin and yang formation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was cool too. And I just felt like a lot. It was pretty cool because to me, a lot of the fights that involved him like on Earth, a lot of those fights were grounded and realistic, and they felt very reminiscent of Jackie Chan. The bus fight, I think, is probably one of the prime examples. Just the beats and how the choreography plays out. You see him actually using the environment, like on the bus, he's hopping through, using the bars and using the poles,
the handrail
around.
Yeah.
The moves with the jacket, that was also the Rumble in the Bronx. Jackie Chan does kind of similar moves with the jacket. And I actually, it's kind of funny because what you had mentioned, Eric, earlier was the supervising fight coordinator, fight choreographer coordinator was a guy named Brad Allen. And he actually died a few weeks before this movie release. So rest in peace to Brad Allen. He was a huge benefactor and a huge reason these fights came out as great as they did. And a lot of this success has to go to him. So rest in peace, Brad Allen. You're awesome. But he actually was a member of the Jackie Chan stunt team. He was the first non-Asian member of the Jackie Chan stunt team in the 90s. And he brought in a lot of choreographers that had worked with Jackie Chan or members of the Jackie Chan stunt team. So if it feels to you this film has a lot of sequences that are reminiscent of Jackie Chan, more so those 80s kind of realistic modern setting that he had, Police Story, Rumble in the Bronx, a lot of those movies, that's because a lot of them worked on them, or a lot of them worked closely with Jackie and had that kind of similar style. But in a way, I think it's meant to be more its own. Like, they didn't want to just pull from stuff. Obviously, the scaffolding, the bus one was very reminiscent, but they still tried their hardest to just make it unique and on its own. And I don't know if you realize this, but a lot of those fights were grounded realistic, and the ones that took place like in Ta Lao are the ones dealing with the mom and Wenwu. A lot of those fights were actually very wuxia based and very Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Tai Chi Master, House of Flying Daggers. So I think this is a pretty...
The way I would describe that fighting style is it's a little bit more fantastic and probably less grounded. It's almost like they're moving like the wind.
Exactly.
I don't know how to describe it. It's like they move like a natural element in that fighting
Or
style.
are they moving with water, flow like water?
Or with water, flow like water, wind, water, some kind of natural element. But yeah.
But it's so yeah, that's what I said too, because obviously the one, like, when, for those that were trained in Ta Lao and have the power of the Great Protector with them, their fighting style is Tai Chi and Bagua. And Tai Chi was used for water bending. Bagua was used for earth bending. I'm sorry, air bending. So it's actually pretty cool to kind of see those influences play out with each other. And I think the thing that it worked for me, and it didn't really detract me, because obviously you have grounded realistic fights, and then you have super fantastical fights where people fly and they have air powers and they move like the water and they move like the wind. For me, it didn't detract, and it wasn't something to where it took me out of the film, because obviously with the Great Protector in Ta Lao, obviously they have the power of the dragon. So it makes sense why they move the way they do, why they're able to do the things that they are. And obviously that's talked about in the very beginning, that the mom gave up her power to raise a family and come live on Earth. And that's why she didn't have that same ability when the Iron Gang came to kill her. So I thought, like, did that detract from you guys at all? Like the mix of combat styles and the mix of those elements?
No,
not
at all.
No, I don't think it did. Also, kind of, I mean, obviously you're referring to like Avatar, and like I grew up watching that show, and so when I started seeing like, oh, two different fighting styles, two different personalities come from different cultures, it just kind of made sense to me.
Exactly.
So it's just like, oh yeah, okay, that's fine. Like it did not deter from like the overall story at all for me.
It's all about the culture. You know what I'm saying? It's the culture, but it's multiple of one kind. Like it's like, you know, like that's why I won't get deep into it, but yeah, that's what I'm saying when it comes to the Asian, you know,
the Asian
the aspects of things like that. Like, you know, that's why there's different types of different names of the martial art that you're learning or training to do, you know?
Yeah,
and
there's
that's what
like
I love about that. So they're paying homage to the different styles that there is, and there's a lot of different martial arts styles.
Yeah, there's different subcultures within any culture.
Of course.
Yeah.
There you go, subculture.
Yeah. I really appreciate that this movie had a lot of callbacks to previous things, like in the fights. Like, obviously when Shang-Chi finally unlocks his power, you see him doing the same move that his mom did when he's dragging his dad around, and his dad looks at him like, oh shit, he's unlocked his true power. And obviously too, with the whole when he's finally able to control the rings, he's about to do the super Kamehameha blast that his mom was also able to do.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool, and you could really see the level of delicacy and intricacy and accuracy that went in portraying these fights. And there was just a whole level of tier that went into crafting these fights and designing these fights, and a lot of that takes time. So the stunt team deserves all the credit, and it's just really cool to kind of see this finally play out in a Marvel film or in a comic book film, because this is what I've wanted all my life, or ever since I started getting more deeper into Hong Kong cinema. So what was your guys' favorite fight sequence, or what was the one that stood out to you as the highlight of the film in terms of action?
Damn.
You know, I'm gonna go with the bus one. Every one was, to be clear, all of them were exciting. There's not 1 second where I was bored by any of it. But I'm just gonna go with the bus one only because when I think back to the movie, that's the one that pops into my head the fastest. So I think for some reason that's the one that left an impact on me. It's what I like, the first thing that pops up when you say action. Shang-Chi, I picture the bus scene. That's what I see. So I'm gonna go with that one.
I won't lie, I do feel like that's the one that probably had the most action. But I think when it comes to stunts, I think it's gonna be the one where he fights a Death Dealer. And it sucks because I think he was supposed to be their number one assassin. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he's actually the one who trained freaking Shang-Chi. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I can't wait until these, throw hands. And they did. They finally did. But I was like, I did not know their spoiler.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. They killed that fool off. So I was like, dang, like what? Like I was expecting more action to go on between these,
Exactly.
It's the top assassin and then his son. But I guess they did explain it all after that fight scene where it was like, I told my men they wouldn't be able to kill you even if they tried, So I was like, well, wow, I guess that sums it all up. But I was still expecting them to see him. I was expecting to see more action between them, but I think that one was the one that stood out to me the most because, like I said, those are the top two that fought it out. But not only that, it's that whole homage to Jackie Chan on the bamboo trees, that on the construction things outside, and it's a lot of what was I gonna say? Like I said, a lot of stunts. Wow, like these people just running through the things, flipping and sliding and diving. Like I said, it was that parkour, but with a little bit of fighting action as well.
Exactly.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
What about you, Eric? What fight scene stood out the best?
I think it's not necessarily a fight scene. I think it's more of an action sequence that stood out. Was when the 10 Rings and the village joined forces to fight the demons.
That's
because they were each still fighting in their own styles. But if you really paid attention to like the groups of people that were fighting, they were working together, and you could see them, like one of them will like hit one of the what are they called, the soul eaters, and like toss it to another one, and then the villager would like stab it and then like throw it down. Like they were working together with their different like fight styles. Like a lot of choreography went into that background, like of everything that was happening there. And I thought that was really cool. Yeah. And then I think that whole last scene was just amazing with the dragons too. And then you see Shang-Chi coming in, flying on the dragon. I legit thought, I don't know why I thought this. I thought the
Dragon Ball Z.
I thought it, yeah.
Okay, can I tell you something?
Goku, like, wait.
Yeah. I thought the never-ending story.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
With the little boy on top of Atreyu.
I went to go see this with
on the dragon.
Yeah. I went to go see this with one of my best friends, and towards the middle of that scene, he leaned over. He's like, "This is proof that they're just fucking around. They could make a good Dragon Ball Z movie if they wanted."
I
was like, "Yeah, you're probably right." He literally said that to me in the movie. Yeah.
I mean, they even make fun of the Kamehameha, right, in the movie itself. When Aquafina's describing it, it's like he did his Kamehameha, like explosion on the dragon.
I mean, when him and the mom, when they do this with the rings, like I actually thought they were gonna like.
Yeah, dude. So I mean, that whole sequence is really cool. I really liked what they did with the dragons. It really felt like there's like a sub battle and then a higher battle happening at the same time that are actually like dictating the flow of the fight. But yeah, I think just like paying attention to that bigger fight and all the little things that are happening in the background, I thought that was all really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, that stood out to me.
I think for me, it's definitely gonna be the sequence where Michelle Yeoh trains Shang-Chi. I think more because he's starting to find more that inner balance, and he's starting to realize I can't just win based off my father's style or based off of what my dad taught me. I need to find another way to beat him. I need to do something a little bit different. It's something that kind of went against my training and everything I'd known. And also, he has to come to this conclusion that he has to find that within himself, and that he has to be something that he had not been before, and stop hiding nephew is that whole thing. And he's essentially learning just how to find that inner peace within himself before it gets awakened. So I felt like that was a lot of character growth for him, and a lot of realizing that he needs to look deep within himself, and he has to embrace it. No, and I wouldn't say embrace it, but he has to essentially forgive himself for his past and for what he has done in order to do that too. Because obviously when you're weighed down by all those emotions are getting you, and you're not going to be able to find that inner balance or that inner peace or that, balancing that yin and that yang. So I felt like that was really where it stood out to me the most.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like I said, across the board, this has to be the best the best action we've ever seen in an MCU movie. And I think it's kind of hard to pick out, because they're all exciting for different reasons. Some of them are exciting for dramatic reasons. Some are exciting just because they're thrilling. Some of them are exciting because they're thrilling and they have comic relief. So some are exciting because one is about discovering love and falling in love. So they're exciting in a number of different ways, and each fight has a different feel to it, a different flow. And I think that's cool to do so many action scenes and fight scenes and make each one feel distinct from the other, and each one convey a different idea or a different emotion.
And that's exactly what they're evoking too, and why they wanted to. This is exactly why they had about like 5 or 6 different fight coordinators working on this project. It wasn't like they solely had one guy doing all the fight choreography or set design or the action design. It had, guys from Hong Kong who were doing more of the wuxia and fantastical fighting and the crouching tiger, hidden dragon, Tai Chi master stuff, and the more grounded, realistic fights they had different choreographers for. So I thought that was really cool, and it played out in a way to where it's not so different that it takes you out, or like, wait, they were just finding grounded realistic, and now they're flying in the air, and now they're doing all these crazy movements and moving like the air and moving like the water. So I felt like that was a good way to kind of balance them out. But overall, just to wrap this kind of up too, was
okay, really quick, what was that creature again?
Which one? The darker, the dweller in darkness?
No, that faceless creature, the adorable one with the adorable noise.
Oh, it was based, it's actually from Chinese culture. I forget what it's called.
The chicken pig.
What was that thing? That was so cool. I didn't know what it was, but I liked it.
Morris, yeah.
Yeah, Morris. Yeah, I loved Morris. I thought Morris was great.
Also, all right, you know they're gonna come out with like plushies or like pillows.
Oh,
Morris
yeah.
pillows, right?
That's
like they have to.
Why they did it. I mean,
okay. Also, I need to say,
like they're the Ewoks of this generation.
Yeah.
Right.
In the beginning, before I saw it was faces, I was like, "Ooh, is this like a mini Pegasus?" I was like, "Oh, it might be a little."
So Jimmy, I got it for you. It's called a Hundun. And it's a legendary faceless being in Chinese mythology, and the primordial and central chaos in Chinese cosmogony, comparable with the world egg.
Cool.
Pretty cool.
Interesting.
Pretty mystic. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So just kind of wrap this up.
Wait, one more second. Sorry. I wanted to say one other thing about this movie. The relationship between Shang-Chi and Katie is absolutely adorable. It's really cute.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
It's done well.
Yeah.
I felt like they were gonna she was gonna admit her love for him or something. But she's like, "No, I just got your back, man. I got your back."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was good.
And just before we start wrapping this up, was there any kind of flaws or shortcomings or any kind of issues you had with this film?
If there is, I probably wouldn't notice it until a second or third viewing.
I had one issue.
Okay, let's
hear it. I had like one or two, but not that big.
My issue was in the post-credit scene. Not the first one. The first one was dope, where they talked to Bruce Banner and Danvers, and they're like figuring out what the 10 rings are from. Yeah. All that, I thought that was really cool. It kind of just brings it all together into the bigger. And then Wong doing karaoke with them. That was hilarious.
Pretty funny.
The problem I had was with the second one, because I thought there was such good development with the sister, and then for her to just sit on the throne and be like, okay, now I'm gonna be in charge of the 10 rings, and then it says the 10 rings will return. Like, I thought that was really crazy. I was like, oh man, like I thought she was gonna like just turn good. But I guess it makes sense and it's okay.
But we don't know what she's gonna do with it quite yet.
I know.
It's still too early
thought,
to say.
I
It's still,
kind of had a feeling that was gonna happen the whole time, especially since she was always wearing black. I don't know. It was just something about her always wearing black.
she was
But I
wearing
like,
whites for the last battle.
she's gonna be the yeah, but that was
Gray,
the
like
end.
grayish. I don't think it was
A grayish, yeah.
But that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like in the beginning, though, throughout like up until that time, she was always like wearing like black, and I was like, she still regrets. Like even I think she knew she had to help her brother no matter what, but I think she only did it because that was the right thing to do. But I still feel like she still has something against them for like
Mhm.
leaving her behind or just for them doing their own thing on their
I
own.
also think she has a lot to prove, and I think that comes from the fact that her father kind of marginalized her or didn't put her on the same level as the men. So
Yeah.
I think that she probably has like a little drive to kind of like prove something. I actually think your observation might be correct, Ruben, because when filmmakers and stuff are coming up with like colors for characters to wear and stuff, the what they're gonna wear, there's a lot of thought put into that, and there's a reason
sure.
that people are dressed a certain way. They're meant to communicate something about the character. So if she was dressed in, I'd have to like remember she was dressed in black for most of it before the final fight where she's on the good side. I think that might make sense.
Have you noticed too? Katie's kind of dressed, with her green pants and kind of colorful. That represents her personality. So
Yeah.
that's definitely very true, Ruben. Good observation.
Yeah.
But for
And
me,
then
there was.
I was gonna say, just kind of going with the dress stuff as well. At the very last fight scene, everyone's wearing red except for her, right? Like she's the only one that's like the outlier.
See,
in the
that
whole
kind
thing.
of those types of choices signify something about the character. The fact that she's the only one not dressed that way. When you have like a team of like putting this all together, they know if somebody is dressed, it's because they made a deliberate decision to dress her like that.
To dress that way. Huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I just we'll see where the future holds. I just don't want to see her become like the next
Top villain.
or no, just not top villain. Just I don't want her to be Shang-Chi's next villain.
Yeah.
Right, like in Shang-Chi 2. I don't want
I
that
think
to
they'll
happen.
probably be allies. They'll have some sort of
They seem like they're. She's. It seems like she's gonna be antagonistic, is what it looks like.
Yeah. So,
but for me,
we'll
what
see.
I felt could have been stronger was their sibling relationship. He never really
Right,
said
you're right.
sorry for it, and they don't
You're right.
really. They really don't communicate that much after that incident in Macau, where they get where Wenwu comes and kidnaps them. They don't really interact with each other that much. I don't even think they really talk. You see some great development with her, like where she sees where they're training and she's looking at them, and Michelle Yeoh comes up to her and says, "Hey, everybody here is equals. We all train together. Here's a rope dart."
Mhm.
I just felt like that could have been a little bit stronger, and I just felt it was a little. I thought when him running away at 14, he just killed somebody. He was highly traumatized by it. It makes sense, but at the same time, it's like you left your baby sister there when you told her that you were going to be back in 3 days. And
That's pretty effed
just
up.
never returned for her. I understand he was just a kid, but he never even really apologizes for it or makes amends. It's kind of like she says it, and he's kind of like, "Well, yeah, I mean, it happened. I did that."
Yeah, and then he's like, "I need your help." Like,
I just thought it could have been a little bit more for his development if he was able and helping him unlock his inner power. That could have been another thing. Like he has to confront his past, the person that he was, the wrong that he had done. And I think like that would have been like also too, I think it would have made her transition into taking over the 10 rings a little bit stronger. And, because we thought to us, okay, you see them actually,
I think that's why I go back to what I was saying. I think that's why she might be a future villain for him. Like they haven't gone deeply into that apology, and like you say, he hasn't apologized. Just
I think for me, it could have been stronger actually had they made their amends, had they apologized. But then at the very end, you see her taking over the 10 rings. It's like, then you immediately have conflict that sets up for the next film. Like, wait a minute, they just forgave each other. You thought they were going to be okay. She was going to be dismantling the 10 rings, but now she's taking it over. Like what, I think it just sets up an immediate conflict for the next movie. So
I think so too. Drama. I mean, family drama. I mean, this seems to be a family saga, so it kind of would make sense in a certain way.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that at the end he decides to like not let her go, but I kind of feel like maybe the screenwriters were aware that they didn't develop that relationship good enough. And to be honest, it's kind of hard to do that when you have so many different things going on at once in a script. but it still could have been developed better. You're right.
Mhm.
Thinking about it in
Yeah.
hindsight,
Yeah.
that's probably why they threw that moment in to make up for the fact that there wasn't enough communication. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about it, but I think you're right.
And this one is a small one, but it's more just because I really like this actor. And when I had heard he was going to be in it, I figured this was going to be the role that he was going to be getting, or this was what that was going to be in for his character. But they kind of did Florian. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Montiao, the actor who plays Razor Fist. He was actually Ivan Drago in Creed 2. He played Drago's son.
Yeah.
They did him a huge injustice. That dude had like nothing to do.
Really, nothing. He was just there
Yeah.
to be intimidating.
And if you
That was
see him
it.
in Creed 2, he's so good. Like, honestly, he's probably the standout of the movie for me just because his performance is so good. And you would not think it coming from this big, hulking dude who's Drago's son, who was one of the most cartoonish villains of the 80s, who had no personality and no human quality associated with himself, and was more like the freaking Terminator than he was a freaking person. And in that movie, they completely rewrote his character and really redeemed him. And you see his son, who's like another further example of that redemption. And they do this with him. It's just like, I understand just there's so many characters, like you were saying, Jimmy, but that dude is a really highly capable actor. And for just for him to just stand there and be like, oh, sir, the men are ready, or the convoy is ready. I'm like, this is all they're having him doing? Like, that's like that dude's a great actor.
Yeah, maybe they wasted the talent, but I'm sure he was happy to be there.
Oh yeah, hopefully we'll get to see him actually do more in the future. But those are pretty much the only.
I mean, he's gonna be the right hand of the 10 Rings right now. He's still gonna be right there. So maybe they do have an opportunity to kind of utilize him a little better in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
Too, this is just a theory, but it's what I'm kind of speculating on. I think it's something I share with you guys, but maybe this could be a way for them to reboot Iron Fist and make an Iron Fist connection, because it's kind of there's been kind of rumors and talks about that the 10 Rings originated from Kunlun, which is obviously not the birthplace, but where Danny Rand was able to defeat the Dragon Shao Lao and attain the power of the Iron Fist. So I think it could be a way for them to introduce that character, and because it seems like the rumor is they're looking to reboot that character more so because he just was the least popular character in the Defenders and in the Marvel Netflix series. So that'd be a kind of a good way, and it would be, I think it'd be a cool thing to do, like Shang-Chi and Iron Fist, the Masters of Kung Fu, and it would be a good way to kind of connect those two characters.
Yeah.
So
even Shang-Chi in the comic books was a hero for hire also.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was
with Luke Cage and Iron Fist. So if they bring those in, I'd be so excited. Yeah. Just because I had told you guys, but I'm a huge fan of the Daughters of the Dragon series, and so if they bring back back Misty and Colleen, and they can bring Shang-Chi into it. And there's another story that I actually read that I really liked in Spider-Man comics. Spider-Man loses his Spidey sense at one point. And because of that, he figures out he can't really fight the same way. So Shang-Chi actually trains him. And there's a whole story where he trains him in the art of the spider, in the way of the spider. And then at the very end, he finally gets his Spidey sense back. And then he just becomes like unstoppable.
I know which one you're. I forget what comic issue it is, but I know I read it. I know which one.
It's a couple.
Island, I think it's called.
Storyline.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's funny too because
they can do that.
Basically, he was unstoppable. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Simu Liu, the actor that plays Shang-Chi, is actually
all these Marvel team ups. I'm like, ooh, all these Marvel team ups.
Make it happen. Yeah.
Well, Simu Liu, the actor that plays Shang-Chi, he's actually gone on record to say that would be something that he would want to do, or he hopes Marvel will take that storyline into consideration because he really wants to do it.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
I think that'd be a good way. Spider-Man was never really somebody who's been portrayed as this amazing fighter, and obviously because he can be reliant upon his spider powers, he's so much stronger and faster than everybody, and with the spider sense has a little precognition that protects him.
He's a cheat. He didn't work for it. That damn
exactly.
Parker.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying,
kidding.
We all need to better ourselves. And it'd be a good way because there's just so much they can do, and it'd be a cool way to incorporate more of a martial art element. And when you think about once he gets his spider sense back, and he has a fighting style that is specifically catered to him and his strengths and his abilities, that dude, you know, how the hell are you going to beat that dude?
Yeah.
So I think that'd be really cool, and it'd be a cool way to kind of highlight a comic arc and highlight the source material. One of the better ones too. That is really cool. So Shang-Chi for me gets an 8 out of 10. What about you guys?
Yeah. I
9.
gave it a 9.5. 9 plus. I said 8 plus.
9.
Yeah.
That's liable to go up or down. It's probably not going to go down. It's liable to go up.
It's liable to go up. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I don't like giving 10 out of 10s unless I've seen a movie a few times and I've had time to like slay with it. So it's rare that you'll ever see me just flat out the gate say it's a 10 out of 10. That takes a little bit of time. But as of
fair.
right now, yeah, 9 out of 10. I have a question for you guys. One last question before we go. Beef or vegetarian? Never mind. Never mind.
Vegetarian, because that's all you have, right?
Yeah, vegetarian.
That was funny. That was a good one.
Yeah.
The way they interrupted the story. So my dad asked me beef or chicken. Beef.
Yeah.
That scene made me laugh because I was so into hearing the story. I was like, beef or veg? I'm like, what? Sorry to throw that in.
Yeah,
It was good.
So make sure you guys go out and watch this movie. This is a really great movie, especially if you like high octane action and fight sequences, because this is something that the MCU has really faltered on and didn't. Even when it was done at its best, the editing was choppy, and the way it was cut together and the way that it was set up just wasn't up to par. But this is something that is pretty groundbreaking, pretty revolutionary, and it's probably gonna be like this generation's version of the Matrix within terms of the action. So hopefully it elevates the action in future action movies, not just Marvel, but just action in general, to another status and another tier. It is just that good. You're really going to like it. Make sure you guys check it out in theaters, and it is awesome. So make sure you guys are following us on Heroes and Mutants podcast on IG. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe, share with your friends, and we will see you next time. This is Heroes and Mutants podcast signing out. That week forever.
You guys.